Good morning and thanks for tuning in. This is FCT Brief. Now, this morning we are focusing on political tremor in Delta State as Governor Sheriff Oborevori's recent defection continues to stir controversy, spark political realignment, and raise serious questions about the state's political future. What does this mean for governance, the opposition, and the people of Delta? Governor Sheriff Oborevori's defection from PDP to the APC is still triggering whirlwind of political reactions within Delta State and beyond. Announced at a high-profile event in the state, the governor's move has been described by critics as both calculated and controversial, which marks a shift in Delta's political dynamics, especially with the 2027 elections on the horizon. Mr. Oborevori, who rode into office on the back of PDP's stronghold in Delta, is now being accused by former allies of betrayal and political opportunism.
But while politicians debate party loyalties, ordinary Deltans are more concerned about what this means for governance. As the political dust settles, attention is now on how Governor Oborevori intends to align state policies with his new party. The governor has yet to make a formal policy speech since his defection, but all eyes remain fixed on Delta. Will this political gamble pay off, or will it deepen divisions in a state already grappling with economic and security challenges? We'll continue to monitor developments in Delta State closely, but at the moment, let's speak with the State Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads and Public Information, Honorable Charles Anyagu. It's good to have you in our studio this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Nice to have you here.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Well, many were shocked by Delta's move to the APC, and some say it's more about a political survival than, the interest of the people. What's really the benefit for the average Deltan in this move to the APC? What do they stand to gain?
Well, I will pardon you because Abuja is still very far away from Delta. Possibly you have not had the time to visit to know that we have even moved beyond the issue of moving into the All Progressive Congress. Now we are talking governance, and a whole lot is happening in that direction. But since you raised the issue, in order not to be accused of answering out of point, I will want to also speak to the issues you raised. We were very, very clear on the reasons why we had to leave our former party, the PDP, and then move into the APC. We're also very clear on the issues of our development trajectory and how we could advance the more agenda and indeed also take to the next level the frontiers of development. And that is what is happening. You are also in Abuja, and I know you have more information than I do as to some of the storm that have characterized our former party. And we felt that staying put might not be in our own interest, will not serve the interest of development in our state, because it's not going to benefit us to win an election, and at the end of the day, that election will be on the basis, your victory will be on the basis of a faulty nomination. And even up to just about a few days ago, you covered it, I watched it on your platform, the position of INEC vis-a-vis the who should be or serve as the national secretary of the party. And you know that position is very, very key when it comes to issues of nomination and administration of the party, because actually that's the engine room of the party. So those were some of the issues. Now, having passed the issues of movement, of course, we were not expecting that the moment you jump in, you are going to have everybody on the same page, because ab initio, you also had some blocks within the APC before we joined. And the governor have, in the last couple of months now, been able to manage these diverse views and diverse tendencies, to the extent that through our policy trusts as well as our developmental agenda, we are bringing everybody together, and we are very, very peaceful as a state. So there is no storm either in the teacup or anywhere. And for you to see that when we moved in what you could call one fell swoop. Everybody and the then PDP moved. And you didn't see anybody saying, we are not moving. You saw all the elected officials. That meant that everybody also agreed with the governor. And I can tell you that since we moved, our people are also beginning to see that we were very, very right. Because number one, we're also now taking our development to the next level, bringing in the center to also collaborate with the effort of our governor to advance development in our state. So I can tell you, if there are issues in any other state with respect to political alignment and realignment, count Delta State out of it.
Okay. The question was actually on how it benefits the average Deltan, because they believe that it's more political than in the interest of the average Deltan.
The people those of us that moved are not Reverend Fathers. So it couldn't have been a religious issue.
Well,
the offices we occupy, these are political positions for the purpose of advancing governance. So if within a political party, we did not move out of a political party to go and join a social club. So if anybody says it's more political, what were we doing in the first place? We will move because there's politics, but at the base of that movement is governance and how to bring in development. And I've alluded to the fact that our movement has also helped us to advance the course of governance. Perhaps in the course of this interaction, I'll be able to take you through blow by blow what the governor is doing in the area of the road sector, in the health sector, in human capital empowerment and development, and of course in the area of housing and many other areas that have been able to add value to the life of our people. We're also advancing some form of international collaboration, believing that our state has gone beyond being a very, very critical state in this country, beyond just the shores of the country, because we also need some international players to come in and play certain role. So our people in Delta are now having a much more peaceful political atmosphere. That is a benefit. They are also having governance move much more smoothly than it ordinarily should, because at the moment we will have the ears of the center to be able to quickly attract those benefits that are accruable to states from the center, because like it is said, if you are involved in the business of rabbit hunting, it is those leaves that are very close to the rabbit hole that we need to block the rabbit hole, so it makes it easier for you to be able to do that.
Honorable Commissioner, for over 24 years, the Delta State was in the coffers of, PDP was in charge of the state. And even in the last election, people say election, it's like an assessment of performance of an individual or of a political party. Your states and even the PDP that you were in at that time didn't really do well in that particular election, in the presidential election. And people say that moving to the APC does not really suggest that your government is truly on ground, that if the PDP that you were in charge of then was not able to win the 2023 presidential election. How is it sure that moving into APC you have that political weight? That is just more of noise, not of real being on ground.
I'm sure you know that Governor Sheriff was not involved in the presidential contest.
Yeah, that's why I said your party.
Contested the governorship election and he won overwhelmingly, 21 out of 24 local government areas. I expected you to be able, since we are talking about our state, to stay with that. But since you decided to talk about the general election, I'm sure you also saw what happened in Lagos. You need to be able to look at the tendencies that existed at that time and the wave. The people of the South believed that there was the need for us to navigate towards the southern flank in choosing who becomes the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So when you take that away and begin to do the analysis of what happened, that cannot be a representative of the thinking of the people of Delta. The people of Delta, even at that time, were still very much pleased with the government of the then administration of Okowa. But that tendency I talked about more or less pushed that satisfaction to the background. So, but when 3 weeks after there was another election, what happened? You saw what looked like a 360-degree turn to let you know that the managers of the political machinery in Delta State were still very much in charge. And those managers of the political development and affiliation in Delta State are still the ones who moved into the APC today. What does that tell you? That that same machinery and that same political family, in addition to the many development trajectory and the very novel governance platform that Oborowori have brought to bear in our state, will not only make us to win, but we are now going to have more numbers, because largely a reasonable percentage of the political gladiators in Delta are now in one boat. And so it means that the struggle for votes will reduce. Of course, I am not taking away the fact that individuals are allowed politically to engage in one form of alignment or realignment ahead of general elections, depending on where their interest lies. But what we are confident about is that Delta people are always very grateful. They reward good governance. And the Oborowori is putting good governance on the table. So our strength is, first of all, on what Governor Oborowori is doing. Being fair to the 3 senatorial districts, providing opportunities for our people, ensuring that facilities are being revamped, existing infrastructure. That is our #1 strength. So that equity which is putting on the table, we will move from that to now begin to talk about certain form of political engagements, because, of course, even after you have shown element of fairness, you have been able to take governance to everybody, you still need to be able to communicate to these persons, because politically you could have individuals who may want to paint pictures that are variant with reality, albeit for the purpose of meeting certain political needs that suits their own interest. Of course, you cannot also begrudge them, because politically they are allowed to have such personal interest.
Well, Governor Sheriff is now seen as the face of the APC in Delta, but there are talks that there's still internal grumbling. Some old APC members feel sidelined. Would you say that there's now unity in the state, or in the state chapter of the APC, or are we going to see more friction down the line?
What you see in any political system at any given time is the management of tendencies. Even if all of us are in the same political party from day one, you will have tendencies, because we are talking about a contest. Whenever there is a contest, it means there is competition. For instance, when you go into the field of play in the case of football, and you have twins playing for 2 different clubs, perhaps one is in Chelsea, another one is in Man U. When they go to the field of play, the interest at that moment is who to win. You will not tell a goalkeeper who is one of the twins in Man U to ignore the very hot shot that is coming from his other brother, his other twin, who is in Chelsea. He will at that moment want to defend his club. How do I mean? If we moved into another political party where there are certain tendencies, albeit political, and you expect that the moment you go in, everything will move smoothly, it means you are coming from a dreamland. I'll give you an example. I wouldn't know what you took this morning for breakfast. But if peradventure you happen to ask somebody to prepare custard or pap for you, the moment you turn in the hot water and it now is able to have some form of a semi-solid state, which you will take, and you decide to spice it up a little to add milk, you know that you must bring in your spoon to do some form of turning to be able to have a fine color and then to have a proper mix. That is what we are doing in Delta. Coming in, ensuring that everybody, including management of the existing tendencies that were there, because they had blocks. And those blocks politically are allowed. No matter what you do, you must have those blocks, because individuals have their different tendencies. Even whilst you are here in the studio, by the time, for instance, you are manager news, and they want to take you to become manager programs, and possibly bring another person to become manager news. That person who is coming in to become manager news, thinking that the moment he steps in, everything will move smoothly, that is not the way it is. Because he may come in and discover that for him to be able to move to the next level, the correspondent in the National Assembly may be moved to the villa, while the one in the villa may be moved to cover political parties. That form of realignment will bring in some certain tendencies, because the one in the villa may be having certain benefits, the one in the National Assembly may be having certain benefits, but it is up to that new manager to be able to come in and ensure that even if he's moved from the National Assembly to the villa, he's still able to cover and report political developments in the villa in such a way that your station is able to remain as objective as they have always been before that realignment. Okay. That is where we are, and it happens in any human society. So to begin to make it look as if it's a big deal, no. Right. Where the governor is doing very well in managing those tendencies. He's reaching out, he makes calls, he interacts. For those of us who are operating at the lower level, we have also been directed to ensure that we continue to have a mix, because you could have these tendencies from the top to the bottom, because of that particular realignment, or possibly some form of alignment that may have existed before we moved in. But what I have said that I want you to take note of, and I would like if you can take it a notch higher by possibly visiting, is what we are doing with governance, and how we are uniting our people with governance, and how we are winning their love with governance, and that we believe we speak much, much louder ahead of the 2027 elections. Yeah,
we'll get to what you're doing with governance. We still want to just talk briefly about some tendencies, and I like the fact that you didn't deny that there are no tendencies. Some want to deny. You talked about the tendencies and how you're managing the tendencies. Now, when the governor defected with his entire cabinet, there's an appointee that did not defect, and it's been in the media saying, talking about certain things that are not in the proper shape. Are you also reaching out to this individual to bring him back to your fold? Because he seemed not to be happy with the fact that you left the PDP for APC. So what are you doing? What is your government doing about that individual?
Well, there are certain things you must understand. I must make it clear here that no member of the cabinet moved the other way. And the cabinet is the highest decision-making body of any
He's an appointee.
Any government. Yes, I'm coming there.
Okay.
We have a whole lot of appointees. And why do we have those appointees? We believe that beyond those of us who are operating at a higher level, where you talk about the executive arm of the government, where decisions are made, that there is a need for us to be able to also manage certain localities. There are individuals that are appointed for the purpose of helping us to manage certain tendencies in their area, which means a smaller community. Why do we do so? We believe that once you talk about security and governance and be able to cascade that decision at the higher level to the lower level, that you need these individuals to be able to come in. So if because of certain local peculiarities or possibly tendencies, if you like, in that environment where that individual is from, he is not able to move, or he has other interests, you do not begrudge him. It is not unexpected. I am happy you are even just able to point out one. You are not saying this group of people, or this community, or this larger interest. When you have people at the level of SA, SSA, they are made to be able to help us to take down the policies and programs of government to the people. They are not usually among those who are at the point of policy making. They could help us to step up some policy initiation by reaching out to the other persons who may be a little higher in terms of the middle political class. In which case, he has an issue, he takes it to either an executive assistant, or he takes it to a special advisor who may have cause to either discuss with the commissioner in charge of that particular ministry, or maybe run it through the chief of staff or through the SSG. So when such persons at that lower level takes a decision, you will need to examine a whole lot of things, much as yes, they are desired to be in the bigger picture. You will need to examine the tendencies that may have led to that individual taking that decision before you begin to take your own action. Now, when an appointee who is a member of government decides, for instance, that I don't want to move out of this party, and in any case, he was not even a member of the PDP before, the person you are talking about. He contested the election on the platform of the Labour Party. The governor, out of his magnanimity, thought there was the need to bring everybody together, and the person was given an appointment. So which means, ab initio, he was not part of the political family. He was being brought into the family. And so if you leave, even if you left and say, I'm not doing this, you did not raise those issues you are raising now, which means you're only going back to where you originally belong, that the governor wanted to be able to bring you into the bigger picture. And then you are now painting pictures that are completely at variance with reality, all because you want to now satisfy the tendencies that you originally belong. But you know what? Oborowori is mindful of the need to get everybody to be on the same table. Usually, it is not always easy to place everybody on the same table, but as much number that we could bring to the same table so that decision making becomes easier, interaction with our people becomes much more smoother than it ordinarily should. We do not begrudge anybody who take that kind of decision. That is why you see that we're not joining issues with anybody. All we do is to be able to ensure that we are the one in charge now. We must realize that individuals who may not be at the center also do have a right. And it is up for us to manage them, and that's what we're doing.
All right. Now, let's bring on board the National Coordinator, Young Nigerians Rights Organization, Victor O.J. He joins us live via Zoom. He was the special advisor to the governor of Oborowori, who refused to defect from the PDP with the governor. Consequently, he resigned his appointment. Good morning.
He wasn't the special advisor.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning,
Mr. O.J.
I'm senior special. I was senior special assistant.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not a special advisor. I was never a special advisor.
All right.
Okay.
Senior special assistant.
That is noted. That is
NGOs.
Correction taken. Well, Ms. Tega Sholokwe accused you of leaving Governor Sheriff Oborowori's cabinet out of political and ethnic bias, not out of genuine concern for security, which you mentioned. What's your response to that?
Everybody has a right to freedom of expression. And first, let me correct the impression of the Honorable Commissioner Information and Rural Works, Chasanyago, who happens to be my good friend. Harrison Kwamishu was a member of PDP prior to him joining the Labour Party to contest for House of Assembly. And eventually he fell back to the PDP because the PDP saw the need to bring him back to the fold. Like you rightly said, everybody must be carried along. Second, the reason why I was the one that told Harrison Kwamishu to resign. After I resigned, I called him to go and resign because of the insecurity that my community and our local government and, in fact, Delta State was facing. That was why we actually resigned, because governance, it was like the government now focused on politics as against the critical service delivery to the people. That was why we actually resigned. But the good news is that, one, everything has turned around. Everything has changed for good currently in Delta State, because the governor saw reasons with us by way of their actions silently. As we speak, the Commissioner of Police, kudos to him, the Delta State Commissioner of Police, kudos to him. Silently, he has done so much. Even the DSS director, state director, they have been doing a lot since April that we resigned to now. They have done a lot of arrests, made a lot of arrests.
Now, Mr. OJ, let me come in here, please. Mr. OJ, let me come in here.
Yes.
Yeah, you're saying that the Commissioner of Police is doing so well, that the government is doing so well. Are you saying that it is because you resigned and that is why the government is beginning to do those things? I need it clear, please.
See, as civil rights activists, our goal is for accountability in government. Our goal is to be watchdog. our goal is to bring insights to the government. Areas that the government cannot see, we are mandated to call their attention to it. And so far so good, I must be sincere, I am not into satanic activism. The government of Delta State, Governor Sheriff Oborewori, since April that myself, Comrade Victor OJ, popularly called One Box, resigned alongside my village brother, Harrison Gwamishu. Since we resigned, the governor improved the state ESCOs, the security agencies, they all improved their activities for the people.
That's sort of an indictment on your reasons. Sorry, Mr. OJ, if you allow me to come in here, isn't that like speaking from both sides of your mouth? Because when you say that you left his camp because he was failing to respond to issues of insecurity, and now you're saying he has improved on them, does it not suggest that you were not doing the right thing when you were in the camp of the governor? Or we are not speaking up for that until you left, and now you're seeing improvement?
Okay,
Mr. OJ.
Yeah, Honorable Commissioner, you just heard what he said, that things have improved, and that since they left, that the governor had decided to now work on certain areas.
Well, thank you very much.
Before you mention that, I hear that he's back. So you can, if you can respond to my question. Did you hear me, or I need to ask again?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, go ahead.
I'm saying that there is improvements. Initially, it was all about 2027 politics. Then, upon our resignation, things changed for good. Things change for good, and we should give it to the government since they are doing well. If they are not doing well, we are going to hold them accountable. That is why we are civil rights activists. That is why we hold them. That's why there is need for transparency and accountability. That's our role. Our role is to ensure that the welfare of the people, the dividend of democracy, is prioritized. Now that the government of Delta State has turned around for good, it's not an indictment. If the government improves, you give them, you appreciate them.
All right,
and it's not a crime to appreciate the government that is now working.
All right, Mr. Honorable Commissioner, he's saying that the price of his resignation is the turnaround for good in Delta States.
Well, let me appreciate my brother One Box, Victor, for recognizing and at least speaking the truth on this particular issue, and that is good coming from him. But to say that what he's saying is because he resigned, that cannot be true. Number one, if you talk about improvement, government and governance is about daily improvement of the lives of the people. No matter how well you have done, you are brought in to take it to the next level. The governor's agenda is anchored on 4 thematic areas, could name more. And of course, you know what more means. More means addition to what is on ground. So, and more means also an improvement in terms of governance. Maybe perhaps now he's having more time to look more closely. There are a number of things that we were doing before. So when I heard them before say this is not happening, I said that's not true. Before that time, let's talk about the security which you talked about. Before the time we're talking about, the governor has made available not less than 60 brand new vehicles for security agencies. That didn't happen in the course of their resignation. That has happened long before that time. The issues of assisting the security agencies in terms of intelligence gathering and providing them equipment for the purpose of enhancing communication. That didn't just happen. All those things have been on ground. The continuous interaction at the level of the Security Council meeting have always happened. That didn't just happen now. So if now it is now that he's saying it, good enough, I am happy that he's saying it. But to begin to ascribe it to issue of resignation, no, that cannot be the situation. Oborewori's commitment have always been from day one. Even from, for instance, the local government where my brother One Boss is from, which is a near-transfer local government. We know the amount of development. Just yesterday, the contractor handling a road in a place called Ejema Nyogo, Bidubu Ekukwabo stretch, which is about 6.7 kilometers, sent me the video of the completion of the project which I am supervising directly. And immediately I directed my director in charge of rural to go and visit to know if there are 1 or 2 things to be done. The only thing left in that particular road now is the road marking. That is part of his own community. We didn't build that road because he resigned. We built it as part of the ongoing transformation of infrastructure across the length and breadth of our state. We have been talking about a twin bridge, the Ubu Bridge, which is also in his local government. We are also working, we have completed the Ishago Ewulu. First phase. Why am I mentioning it? All these projects are also linked to our ability to empower our people and improve the security situation. So all those things have been on. And we will continue. We do not get angry or join issues with anybody who critique our government. We even want people to critique us in such a way that you are speaking the truth on the different issues.
Honorable Commissioner, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I really hope we could have more on this discussion, but time is not our friend. We'll definitely bring you back to discuss about the developments in Delta State, but that's where we'll leave the conversation today.
Thank you very much. The rest assured that anytime we'll come because we'll have it, and we also want you to come so that you can see almost like primary knowledge of the issues.
All right. Victor OJ, we also say thank you for joining us on the program this morning. It was a delight.
Thank you for having me.